Good morning, everyone. Mic check. Can anybody? Yep, it looks like you're hearing me.
Yes, sir, we're hearing.
Pretty. Let me just take a photo. All right. Welcome. All right. Today I'm here looking on hold on, let me turn this down. I'm here looking on our schedule, wondering how everything is going, and being happy that some persons, most persons, some, okay, managed to finish the first checkpoint, and we are rearing to go on the next part of our journey. So I have today we're doing roof floors. So basically all the horizontal surfaces. I'm just waiting for my Revit to open on my side. Everyone has their Revit open? Hopefully. All right. So in our afternoon class, we're going to continue with the presentation, right? We were at group, I think we did 4. So we're now going to go to 5. We're going to try and see if we can get through at least 3 groups today. Are 3 groups ready?
Yes,
Or do I?
my group is ready, sir.
That's 1. Which topic is that?
Constraints.
Constraints is ready. Give me another one. Who else is ready?
Sir, view range.
Which topic is that?
View range.
Oh, view range is ready. Cool. And give me one more.
Sir, scope boxes is ready.
All right, cool. So that will be constraints, view range, scope box. All right, cool. That is what we will look on later in the evening class. All right. Okay, let me bring this up. You guys should be seeing my screen okay, right? Let me spotlight this. Right. So this you can kind of see this as like a timeline for us as we go through. The first thing that we did was the design, the pre-design. We went on to the massing model. So we kind of did these 2 in 1. And then we're doing the BIM model creation, right? So in this segment, we finished the levels and floors, and now we're going to do the roof and stairs. This one is going to be pretty cool, right? Pretty intense. So, well, what we're going to do is do all of the external stairs. No, we're going to do all of the internal stairs. So we're not gonna, let me open the model here. I'm just finding it here in Revit. Give me 1 second. So remember, I'm building the model alongside you guys, right? And the thing about BIM is that there's an investment that you, before you actually start to put any drawing sheets together, BIM requires that you invest in building the model first, or at least building out the model before you can start putting any kind of sheets together. So what that normally feels like is, you don't, because your end result is to put the model on sheets. Having a model done is not your end goal. In design studio, if you are doing your final project and you build out your entire model, that's good and dandy for you. But what is required for design studio is your sheets. The sheets have to be printed and pinned up. You get what I'm saying? So building the final model is not the end result, and it's not like the lecturers are marking your model. I mean, in my class, I'm marking the model, but in your design studio and in real life, if you build out the model, the client doesn't care, because the client just need his drawings to, I don't know, get them approved, right? So that is kind of, I wouldn't say risk, but that is kind of the method of BIM. We have to build out this model before we start to generate drawings. And in terms of building out the model, we kind of split that, and we're like the second step in building the model, right? Here. BIM. And when you go BIM, then you go to Floors+Stairs. For my version of the model that I'm building alongside with you guys, second here, let me locate, where did I put it? Floors, roof, and slabs. Okay, so we're about, all right, so here we go, it's opening now. So this is where we should all be, right? We should by now have all our grid lines out. If I go to 3D view here, this is where we should be. We should at least have our, did we put in the floor the last time, guys? I don't think we did. Just the main floor.
No, we didn't.
Right. Okay. Because I just created my floor. Hold on. All right, this is the file here, right? So this is where we left off last time, where we have all the columns and our walls. Now the floors are a little bit tricky, so we're gonna jump into that. No. Where's
Okay, so
all right. So this, remember our method, guys. We're gonna run through this. We will ask, we can stop and go through and ask some questions as we go through. But ultimately, I know that a lot of you will probably use the recording. But if you're trying to follow along, please do. And if I've totally lost you, don't worry about it. We will catch up as we go along, right? And we'll have the recording there.
let's continue with developing our drawings. Before we continue though, I'm going to make some user interface changes to make my process a little easier. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change to a black viewport. While modeling, it will make I'm more able to see different in more detail while I'm modeling. And then when I'm setting up the sheets, I'll change it back to white. So to change my viewport to black, I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to go to Canvas Theme and just click that. And yeah, now it's black. And it's a little bit more visible to me while I'm working. The other thing that I'm using here, I've been using this throughout the tutorial. This is called PureRef. It's not a part of Revit. So if I bring this up now, there we go. Right, so this is PureRef, and what it is think of it as a sticky note, but for images. It can also store text as well, but essentially you just put images on a sticky note, and it has way more options than the default Windows sticky note. So that's what I have running right here. And it's actually on top of everything, so I can move it around and put it where I want to put it. In this case, I'm just going to put that right here. So I find that to be very useful when I am trying to look up dimensions while I'm drawing. I will just have that there. All right, so those are some quality of life improvements that would help while we're modeling. All right, so let's go ahead and start to put in our floors. So let's take a look on our sections here, and already we can see we have a foundation level. We also have let's make this bigger. We can see that we have the height of the upper floor. We also have the level for the ceiling that's happening here, and then we have the height of our roof. Right, so these are the horizontal elements that we want to add in. And one of the more interesting elements is gonna be this outdoor area here. And if we take a look at let's use the floor plan, the upper floor here. So we can take a look at this area here, and we can see that it is pretty much the same level. Let's look at this section once more. We have quite a bit of sections here, which is a great thing. Right, so we can see that it is on the same level as the upper floor, and we have another level below, so there's actually a opening between these levels. All right, so let's start to put those in. So let's start with the lower floor. So I'm going to go to lower floor here, and this is what we have as a lower floor. So let's put in this this slab first. So we have this lower floor here, and we're gonna go to architecture, then we're gonna go to floors. That's right here. All right, now once we go into floors, it is gonna default to the generic floor, right? And we can always edit this later, but let us use this one here, concrete slab, 200 millimeter, and we can draw the floor using lines. We could also use the pick line tool, and that will draw based on these walls as we have here. So I'm going to put one here, and I will do that for now. Of course, we need to fix this up, so we're going to go to the trim. We're going to trim that out there. Then we're going to add another floor here. Now there are some questions to be answered. So for example, what happens in this area, because based on the upper floor, you know, we do have something that looks like this, and we have this is perhaps where the hole is. So this floor will stop somewhere here, but there's a curve wall that happens somewhere like right here. Now, we don't know yet those details, but we're just putting in the floor as a placeholder for now. So we're going to say okay. All right, now we also need to choose the level of this floor. So right now it's on lower floor. And what's going to help us out is we can start to actually cut sections similar to these sections here, so that we can identify, you know, any missing elements. So section BB that's here, if we take a look on that in plan here, so here we go, A, B. All right, so we can see that B cuts here. So that is going to be about somewhere between grid line 4 and 5, and for us that is between 4 and 5. So we're going to cut a section there as well. So to do that, we're going to head over to view, and we're going to click section, and then we're going to start from here and just draw a line all the way across, all the way to here. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this section here, and we can just use this little arrow area here to change this. Click it a few times and we're going to change it to that. Now notice these areas, this area here is blank, and the reason for that is we haven't put this on a sheet yet, so it will not generate letters and sheet numbers just yet. All right, so now what we want to do is take a look on that section, and over here, if we take a look on our project browser, you can see that we have a section part that popped up now. So we're going to hit that down arrow, and this is section 1, and we're going to open that drawing up, and this is what it looks like. Now we can then compare that to our schematic design drawings for section BB, which is this one, that is A, C. All right, so we can all right, so this is the section that we're currently looking at here. So we can see where we added in these walls, that's here. Now the line work will be a bit bright, so it's going to be hard to designate what is building cut versus what is grid line. And we'll notice that's the same even if we change it to white mode. It's going to be the same thing. So what we can actually do now is we can set up we are going to choose a view template that will make the section view a little bit more visible for us, right? So if we go over in our properties dialog box, you will see where you say view template. You're going to choose none, and we are going to choose the architectural section. This is pre-made in Revit already, so we're going to choose OK. Now when you choose the architectural section, you might not see any difference here. So what we're going to do is configure the view template architectural section so that it makes our section a little bit more visible, right? So we're going to go back into architectural section, and in this dialog box here, what this is, this gives us the ability to tweak what we want the architectural section view or views that are using this view template to look like. So first thing we're going to look at is going to be the visibility graphics overrides. And if we click on this, we get this other dialog box that's here. And to understand what this is saying, it's simply saying that, okay, let's go up to the category of annotations, because what we want is for our grid lines and our level lines to not be as bright as our wall lines. So levels and grids and section lines are all a part of annotation. They are not modeled objects. They are not floors and roofs and walls. They are annotative objects or elements. So if we go under the category annotations, and then we're going to scroll down here, and what we're looking for is going to be grid lines. So you can just press G on your keyboard and it will jump down to the G. So we're looking for grid lines, and what we want is for our grid lines to be halftone here. So now what this is saying is that all grid lines in views that use this view template will be halftone. Now we're going to do the same for elevations, not for elevations, for levels. So go down to levels, we want to make that halftone, and same for sections. We want to make our sections halftone as well. So we're going to choose OK and OK. So now what you notice is that all of these are now halftone. So once you use a view template, it will override all of your how your drawing looks. Now, one important note about this is if you look down here, if you try to change these settings, let's say you want to change the detail level, you'll notice that, oh, they're grayed out. I can't change it. If I want to change, wireframe, hidden line, shaded, these are all grayed out. Shadows, everything is grayed out. And the reason for that is these settings are no longer being determined by the current setting here. They are now being determined by the view template, right? And that may be what you want to achieve. If I go into my view templates and I say, okay, I don't want to use architectural section. I don't want to use any view template. So I want to choose none, and I choose OK. Then notice that these are now editable again. So I can change it to shaded view if I want, wireframe or anything. But once I enable a view template, in this case, architectural section, it is going to overwrite my drawings with all of the settings that I choose here, like that. And it will disable the ability to change it in real time. So we're changing this because we want to be able to identify the walls and columns, and then we want to compare that with our sketch that we have here. All right. Now next we want to get in our upper floor. So to do that, we're going to go to our floor plans here, and let's go to the upper floor that's here, and then click that. All right, now for our upper floor, we're going to now go back to floor, and let's use pick line again. Now other thing to notice is that I'm selecting walls to generate my floor, my slab edge, but I'm choosing the walls that are on the inside of the thickness of the walls. And as you can realize, why I'm doing this is actually the wall is here. Actually, no, the wall is actually here. Yeah, why I'm doing this is because you don't want to have your slab on the same surface as the outside of the wall. The floors are supposed to sit inside the slab area. All right, now we also have a floor slab that's going to be out here. So I'm going to pick these as well. And it's going to come somewhere here and then come over like that. Okay, so pick lines will only get us so far. Now we need to go to our line tool. So this floor slab will probably come out like that. And we're going to use PR, trim tool, to trim that up. Or line tool here, and then trim tool. All right, then we need one across here. We need to make sure these touch, so that up. All right, and trim this up. Now, one other thing to notice, if I did not correct this and I try to choose OK, I'm going to get a warning message. It's actually coming up behind. I'm drawing here. Right, so I'm going to get a warning message that says that the lines has to be closed. So it doesn't even give me the option. Like if I choose quit sketching, it's going to just delete all of my lines. If I choose continue, it's going to say, hey, you need to fix up your line work because it has to be a completely closed loop. Now, if I was like this and I was wondering, oh, where do I not have a closed loop? Notice that it highlights it in orange. So it tells you that these two lines, there's an issue with it, right? And just in case you were doing something even more complicated, where it would be hard to even see these lines, you could click show. And what this will do is it will attempt to show you to zoom into the areas that has the problems, right? So that is what this dialog box is telling you. And then you choose continue. So now you can go ahead and fix this up by using the trim tool like that, and then you choose OK. Now the next thing it's going to ask you is do you want the walls to go up to this floor level? Usually I say no, though I choose not to attach, and the reason for that is I would rather be the one to determine if the walls should go up to the roof, right? So if I drew a slab that was hovering above my model and I chose attach, then all the walls that falls under the slab would automatically be attached to the bottom of the slab. So that's what this is saying, and in this case I don't want it to do that. All right, great. Now we have that done, and if we look on this in the 3D view here, you can see that we have our slab on top, which is all right. So everybody following so far? I mean, it's a slab. Everybody here knows how to draw a slab already, right? All right. Right. Now we're gonna have to cut that hole in the middle, so that's gonna be interesting. Right here, and then we have a slab below, which is right there. All right, now let's work on our roof level. These slabs will have to be edited, but we're just putting them in first. And if you look here, if you notice these areas here, when I move the screen, you see them flickering. This is what is called Z fighting, and the reason for that is this is when you have two surfaces that's over each other, you get this kind of flickering. So that option that came up that said, hey, do you want the slabs to attach to the bottom of this floor? What it would have done is allow these wall slabs to not be on the same surface but attach underneath the floor slab. Now I know that might seem like the appropriate thing, but I would rather us have control over doing that rather than letting the automated system do it. All right, so that is our floor slab now. Now let's look at the roof slab. Okay, so if we look here at our roofs, we can see that the roof has kind of two levels. We can see one is going to be here at the ceiling level at 8,600, and then we have the other one that is going to be up top. So taking a look at our model and just kind of visualizing what's happening here, it seems that there is going to be a slab over here, and it's going to kind of step up a little bit like that, and then there'll be another slab over this area like that. Right, so this is going to be this slab here, and this is going to be this lower section here. So now we have to control, we have two different levels of slab. All right, so another thing we have to consider is that these are not necessarily floor slabs because there's no floor above this level. So these are actually roofs. And if you notice, Revit will treat floors different from roofs. They are two completely different tools. And this is where a lot of persons just say, what the heck, a floor and a roof are like the same things, but it's not. In this case, we want to be using a roof slab for our roofs, which is different from a floor slab for our floors. So this area here is actually a roof. Now, based on this sketch, we can see that it goes pretty much up to grid line D. It overhangs a little bit, looks like maybe about a foot, if not 18 inches. So what we do now is we would draw this using a top view. That's one option. You can also draw the roof in a perspective view as well, but let's do it from a top view. So I'm going to go to the roof level that we created here. Now at the roof level, notice that you're not able to see the roof below. So what we need to do is we need to enable the underlay floor plan. You want to be able to see the level that is underneath the level you're currently looking at. So right now I am looking, my view is showing me the roof level. So what this means is that when I'm looking down on this roof plan here, I am seeing, zoom in here. So if I use this, so I am looking down here, but I am only seeing up to this level here. Whatever happens below here, I am not seeing that on this plan that's right here, which is why all I'm seeing is a bunch of lines, and I'm not seeing my walls. I'm not seeing these walls that are below this level. So in order to show that, I will need to enable this option called overlay. And how overlay works is I can say, okay, then I want to overlay this view with showing my upper floor plan. So if I click that, and I can click apply, but in Revit, you don't have to click apply. You can just move your mouse outside this area and then it will apply. So now if you look closely, you're actually seeing here the lower level that is displayed because I have my overlay set to show my upper floor, right? Now you can also choose when I'm showing that upper floor, do I want to be looking down at that floor or up to the ceiling of the upper floor, right? So I want to be looking down in this case. So that's why I'm seeing it there grayed out. Now the other thing I want to do is my plans are going to start looking a bit confusing. So for example, if I go to my upper floor here, notice that I did go ahead and change my grid lines to be halftone, which is great because I can see my drawing more clearly. I also did that for the lower floor, but for the upper floor, for the roof plan, I need to do that again. Now, instead of going on every new plan that I create and then choosing the grid lines and making it halftone, instead I want to do what I did for the section view. I want to create a rule using my view template, and I want that rule to be, hey, on my floor plans, I want you to always make grid lines halftone, so I don't have to be changing it every time. So what I need to do is I need to go into floor plan here, go into view template, and then I want to change it to an architectural plan view template. Now if I choose OK, of course nothing much happens. And that's because I need to define the visual rules that are set for the grid lines. So I go back here, and then I already know that it's going to be in annotation. So the overrides that I want to set for grid lines is going to be in annotation. And also note that the headings here, model, annotation, analytical model, and so forth, align with these headings here, model, annotation, and so forth. So it doesn't matter if I click edit on it here. When this window pops up, I can also change them at the top. That's here. All right. So I want to be under annotation because that's where I'll file grid lines. So then I'll go to my grid lines here, and I will say, okay, I want my grids to be halftone. I'll also say that I want my levels to be well, I don't have to worry about levels in the plan view, mainly just the grid. So I'm going to choose OK and OK. So now all my grid lines here are going to be halftone. So that way, when I draw an actual wall, the wall will be much brighter than the grid line. And that will happen whether I'm using the dark mode or the light mode. All right. In this case, I'm using the dark mode. All right. So in this case, we want to draw our roof plan. Now we need to determine what level we're going to be at. So right now I am at the roof level here, which is this roof level here, right? And if you remember, I'll jump over to my section view here. As you can see here, roof, which this is my roof level here. You can see that I'm at the top here, which is where I need to be. However, when I want to do this lower roof here, I will need to be at a lower level. So I will need to create a new level for that, a level called level 2 ceiling. So let's do the roof first. So I'm going to go back to roof plan here. And this time I'm going to go to architecture, and I'm going to go this time to roof. I'm not going to go to floor because I'm not drawing a floor. I'm actually drawing a roof. So I'm going to choose roof. Now the roof sketch works pretty similar to the floor sketch, with the difference is roofs has the ability to be sloped. So what I want to do is, if I look into my settings here, it's telling me, okay, what level am I drawing this roof at? And I can say, well, I want to be drawing this on the roof level. What is the offset from that level? I'm going to leave it at 0 because I'm at the roof level drawing a roof. If I was at the upper floor level, which is a bit lower, and I'm drawing a roof, then I would say, oh, I want that to be X high. But I'm at the roof level drawing a roof, so my offset is going to be 0. All right, so let's go ahead and do the same. So I'm going to use pick line again, and I'm going to draw these guys here. Now I know that the roof is going to be on the inside of this section here, but I know it's going to be offset from this. I don't know how far just yet, but I'm going to just put those in. And then I'm going to use my trim tool, shortcut TR, to just trim this up nicely. All right. Now I'm going to say, okay. Now let's take a look at that in 3D. And this is what it looks like. So I have my roof there. Now, just in case some of us might get a roof that is slanting, or it's looking like a hip roof. The reason for that is, for every line that you draw on the roof floor, on the roof, using a roof tool, you have this option that says define slope. Now, what this is saying is that, do you want this line that is highlighted to have a slope? Right now the checkbox is not checked because I don't want it to have a slope. So in case your roof is sloping, it's probably because you have the define slope ticked for a line. So I don't have define slope on for any of these lines, so I'm going to end up with a flat roof, which is what you're seeing here. Now, a couple other things. Notice that in our drawing here, we have the roof, the top of the roof is going to be at 9,500, which is pretty much, you know, because what we have here is that the roof is sitting on top of the walls. And if I click the roof here, if I go to my section view here, you will see that this is where my roof is, but yet my roof, the top of the roof should be here, which is 9,500. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, for my section view, I'm going to go back to view template, and I'm going to say, hey, I want my section views to have a scale of 1 in 50. So now these texts are a little smaller. All right, great. So if I click on my roof there, I know that my roof type that I'm using is a generic 300 millimeter. So what I want is for my offset to be minus 300 millimeter. There we go. So now it's looking more like what we want, like that. And if I look at my 3D view, that is what it's looking like. All right, these are the columns pushing through. Okay, so we know that this section here must be lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this roof. I'm going to double click, and the roof is going to go right up to grid line D, which is aligned with this wall here. So pretty much my roof should do something like that. And this is going to tell me that, oh, I'm getting rid of this line that was here. So I'm going to say yes, delete that element. So that is my roof there. I'm going to choose OK. All right, so that's my roof there. So now I need to create this lower roof that's right here now. So to build this section, we are going to need to let's go to the roof level here, and notice that this roof overhangs this section here, and then it comes back to grid line D. So grid line D is here, so pretty much it is over this entire section. So we're going to go to architecture, and then we're going to head over back to the roof tool, and let's use the rectangle tool this time, and I'll draw, well, it's starting from the edge of this wall, so I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to go all the way here, maybe about, well, let's do it here first, and then we can move this about, I'm going to put 1 foot, there we go. Maybe it's more, maybe it's 18 inches, so let's try 1 point, let's go to move, and do 1.5 feet. Yeah, there we go. All right, now importantly, we need to set the height for this, and we didn't create the level. So right now it's going to go on the roof level, so we're going to choose OK. So that's fine, it's on the roof level. So we need to go to the section view, so it's up here, but we need it to be on a new level. So we are going to copy this, CO copy, and we are going to set this level to 8,600, right? And we are going to call this level, level 2 ceiling. There we go. So now we can even do this in a 3D view. We can choose our new basic roof, and we know that we need to set that to level 2 ceiling. There we go. So when we see this, we know that these walls need to come up to this roof. So we can select these walls here. Now we're going to have to split this wall in order to have it come up to that roof there. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to the modify tool, and I'm going to use the split element, and I'm going to click about right here. That's fine. So this wall, I'm going to say that the top constraint should be changed to level 2 ceiling. There we go. And I'm going to do the same for this wall and that wall. All right. Another thing, because this is a sketch, we don't really have the thickness of this, but I would gather 300 millimeters, or a foot would be quite thick. So I am going to go ahead and change the basic roof, generic roof 300 millimeter. And for now, I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to change the structure of that to 150 millimeters. I'm going to choose OK. So then that will adjust the thickness of these roofs. All right. Then I need to have a wall that goes across like this. Now there are a couple options we can do for that. We could actually draw a wall over here, or we could use this wall and carry it over and then cut a hole in it. So there are different workflows that we can use. If we draw a wall here, then we're going to end up with a cut line in that wall, which we can get rid of when we show the elevations. But to make this more neat, I would draw this wall all the way over. I will use the trim tool here. There we go. Then I would need to get in here to make an opening here. So I would use my upper floor plan. So this is that new wall that I just drew right here. And what I'll do is I will go to architecture and I will go to wall opening. And I will just draw a wall, an opening from here to here, like that. Now, let's see what this looks like in 3D. And to do that, what I can do is just click on this wall here, and then I'll just hit this button that's right here. And what that will do is give me an isolated view in 3D, which is super useful. So while I'm in this view, what I can do is, this is simply just a 3D view with a section box automatically applied. So I can just hit that view here and just extend this out so you can see the rest of the building. So right away I can see that this is my opening. So I want this opening to come all the way up and all the way to this wall. So what I'm going to do is select the opening. I'll just carry this all the way over here. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will use my align tool, AL for align. I will select this surface inside here. I'll use tab to get to it. And then I want to align it to this surface here. Voila. And then the same for here. I want to use my align tool and I want to align this surface here along with there. All right, that's great. Then I will need to align this back to here. So I'll use my align tool again, align that surface. All right, now I think this end also overhangs. I'm not sure yet. So a lot of these decisions that you make are going to be decisions that you would make at this design development phase, because the schematic design is more like an intent. Like, this is what ideally I would want the design to be like. But in design development, you make a decision. You decide that, okay, I don't know if I have a overhang here, but I'm going to make the decision, the design decision, to put an overhang, right? So these are decisions that you're going to have to make as you go along in this phase, because not everything is outlined in the schematic design, right? All right, so I'm going to choose OK. All right, so now that that's done, what I can do, I can just click this, I can just click in an empty space and say turn off section box here. So now it shows me back the whole building. All right, great. So now I have put in most of my horizontal surfaces. Now we do need to make some additional decisions here. For example, what happens with this column and this column here? I think that we will have this column coming up to underneath the slab here. So we're going to say to let the top offset here be level 2 ceiling, and we will do the same for this guy here. The top offset be level 2 ceiling. All right, cool. All right, great. Let's also fix these columns here. So for all of these columns here, we are going to say the top offset, we're going to say let it be the roof. But we are going to attach the top, and we're going to attach the column top to this slab here. There we go. So now they are underneath the slab. And if I wanted to verify that, like if I click on the slab here, you can see that they come up to the bottom of the slab. All right, great. Okay, so if we look on our views here, we see here that we have the main load-bearing walls having a foundation footing. Now, the truth is that in the architectural field, we do not determine the specifications of all the foundation details, but we do still need to represent it, or at least represent the intention of the structure. So we will need to include this in our drawing, which means that all of our walls here, or the main walls, needs to be going underneath the ground level. So if we take a look, let's use the same section that we have been using, which is section 1 here. All right, so we do need to have a level here called foundation, and that's going to be negative 1200. So let us copy this level here. So this is lower floor. So I'm going to copy this, CO for copy. There we go. And then I'm going to call this foundations, and I'm going to say negative 1200. All right. So already I know that this wall needs to come down by that amount. That's here. Of this wall come straight down to that level, or we can put another wall here. Now, in my experience, I would rather have another wall that starts from this level down below, but you can make that decision yourself. Usually, I will choose the route that gives me more flexibility for the future. So, I don't necessarily know what I will be doing with this drawing in the future, but I know that if I have another wall that starts from here down, I will possibly have more options with whatever I'm trying to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this wall down. Well, I can just copy. Actually, I'm going to do this in a shorter way here. If I go to a 3D view and I select the walls that would get those foundations, so all of these, this one, these as well, right? So let's say these walls would get foundation. I would now copy them. Then I would go to file and I would go to paste, align to selected levels. Now, when I choose this option, it's going to now ask me, hey, what level do I want to paste these walls on? And I'm going to say, well, I want to paste it at the foundation level. And I'll choose OK. Then what you notice is that these walls are now on the foundation level, which is great. But as you can see, the height is still too tall. So all I need to do now is say, okay, I want to let my top constraint be to the lower floor, which is here. Okay, so the reason that it's saying this is because it's basically the level of the top is lower than the level below, possibly because of another setting that we have here. So we have to choose cancel. I'm going to make sure that our top offset is set to 0. Then let's do that again. So we're going to do top offset. So you can see that the top was offsetting, but now the top is at the proper level that it was at before. And I'm going to change the top now to be on the lower floor. So there you go. So now I have these walls that are acting as my foundation walls. And for example, I can, because this is a separate wall than this, I can even give this a different material. Maybe there are different material. We don't know that yet, but the option is there to do that. All right. So now that these walls are going to be my foundation walls, I would then head over to the structure tab that's here. So my structure tab, and then I would head over to this is under foundation. I'm going to choose wall foundations, and then what that will allow me to do is to pick the walls that will receive a foundation pad, essentially this section right here. Now, even this is by no means complete, but if I have more walls later that will have a foundation pad, I can always add them after the fact. All right, so that concludes our foundation walls. Now, on the topic of structure, we do have some beams that are in the building. Maybe we can't see them from this section. We can see a few here. So we have some open web beams that are going to be on the upper level. And we can know that because in our sketch, we can see that it's represented here, right? So we need some open web beams. Also, there are some I-beams that are actually going to be underneath the floor level that's running in the opposite direction to our columns. So what we can do here is we can turn on our scope, our section box that is here, and that will give us these planes here. And let me see, we are right, so we want to be carrying this in like that, and there we go. So this is basically what we're seeing here, and we can see that based on our sketch, we want to have some I-beams running across here and some open web joists that's running across here. So let's go ahead and do that. Now to get our I-beams, we're going to head over to the structure tab that is right there, and we're going to head over to beam. Now if we click that, we do have a default beam that is here. If you don't have a default beam here, you would need to load in a beam family. Now we are going to load in a beam family later, so for now we're just going to use the built-in beam, and of course this is tied to the template that you select. Certain template will have certain families preloaded in the project. All right, so let's choose the beam here. Now in order to put in our beams, we're going to do that from a plan view. So because we're putting in beams on the lower floor, we're going to go to the lower floor level here. So we're putting in beams that's going this way. So essentially we're going to have a beam going that way and another beam going that way, I believe. Yeah, and we have another one here as well that's going to be coming down. All right, so let's go to our beam. Now, a couple things we need to note about beams. They are a little bit more strict in how they are implemented, right? So let's just bear with the process, right? So right now the beam is asking us, okay, what level do you want the beam to be on, right? And the way how beams work, so let's say that you have your I-beam here, right? Now your I-beam, let's say it's going to be like something like this. This would be here, be the reference level. So that means the beam would sit below the reference level. And that is because the justification is set to top. So if the justification was set to bottom, then the reference level would be below. So because that is so, and we would need to know, we select the beam, we would need to ensure that the level we're using is going to be the upper floor, right? Because if we use the lower floor, then the beam is going to be down here, right? But we want the beam to be on at this section here, so we need to set the reference level to be the upper floor. All right, so we're going to have a beam here, so we're going to start from here. We're going to draw this all the way down like that. Right, now you're going to get a notification here, which you can see here. So this is a warning notification that is basically saying, hey, the beam that you just draw is not going to be visible in the view, and that's fine. And we will look into why that is a little later, but the beam is actually there, because if we go to our 3D view, you will see, oh, the beam is there, though it is on the ground floor. So let's look into that. Let's press escape, click on the beam, and oh, we see that it came in on the lower level. Now we can change this if this happens to you, just in case you chose the lower floor for your reference level. In order to change that, you would need to go up here to work plane, and you're going to have to go to edit work plane, and you're going to pick a plane. In this case, I'm going to pick the underside of this floor here, and then it would be attached to that. But also I could go back to here, oops, right, I could go to pick a plane, and what I could do is pick an actual level. So I can choose upper floor here, and see now it has attached itself to the upper floor. So you can choose what you want to attach your beams to. You can attach it to a level, or you can attach it to a floor. Now what I would do is I would attach it to a level, in this case to the upper level. Then I will go to pick a plane and I'll attach it to the floor base. Yeah, So I would attach it to the floor because in this case I want it to be below the floor. And what this means is that if you move the floor, the beam will move along with it. All right, so let's go back to our upper floor here. Let's go, let me see. If we go to our lower floor, then what you will notice is that you're not going to see the beam because you are essentially, if I should cut this floor like this and you're looking down, you're seeing everything that is below the cut plane in this plan, but your beam is actually above the cut plane, so that's why you're not seeing your beam. So there's a couple ways that you could fix this. Like you could view it from the upper floor, if you could also do that, or you could use the underlay feature. So what that means is that if we go to here where we see underlay, we could say, okay, and remember what underlay is. Imagine that you have a sheet of paper and you are putting a sheet underneath that sheet or over that sheet, whichever. That is essentially what underlay is. So I want to underlay this sheet with a view of the ground floor, of the lower floor, but I want to use the lower floor, but I want to be looking up, right? So I'm on the lower floor looking up to see the beam. So what this is saying is that I want to be on this floor, but I want to be looking up, which is where the look up option comes from, because it's saying I want to be on this floor but looking up, and show me what that looks like as an underlay underneath my drawing. So that is what it is doing here. Now I am seeing these walls. So for example, we know that it's working because when I zoom out a little bit, when I am on this level here, but I'm looking upwards, I'm going to be seeing this wall that's here, and that's what I'm seeing here. This wall that's here is what I'm seeing here. So I know that it's working, but the thing is we are not seeing our beam. Our beam should be here. Now the additional reason for that is by default your drawing detail that is located here is set to coarse, which means that it's showing you a very low detail representation of your elements. So when your drawing is set to coarse, what that means is, or a column will be shown as a line. So if I set my drawing detail to fine, which is like high detail, now I'm seeing my column, which is great. So all of this is on the underlay level or layer. So for example, if I should set my underlay is none, then they will all go away, because what I'm doing with underlay is I'm saying, hey, show me the lower floor but looking up. Now that that's done, I can simply copy these columns. So I'm going to go to CPU copy. I'm going to copy these over to here, and I'm going to copy another one here. All right, great. Oops, this one is a little longer. Now, when it comes to adjusting lengths of beams, it can be a little tricky. So for example, if I click on this beam, notice that I have this circle here and I have these points here. Now, if I grab it from this point and drag it, it gets longer or it gets shorter, which is fine. If I grab it from the arrow here, it is extended. And how I know it's extended is because this is the original length of the beam, but it is extended here, which is different from dragging the beam itself. So that is something to note as well. Now, what I usually do is I drag it from the circle. So I will say I want this to be here, and then I will do the same thing here. I will extend this to be here. All right, so let's look on that in 3D to make sure that it is okay. And yes, you can see there's my beam there, and there are my other beams there. All right, great. So according to my sketch here, I have another open web beam that's going to be here. Now the open web beam will not be loaded in my library. So if I go to, this time I'll go to the upper floor and I say, hey, let's go to beam. I only have the I-beam that is loaded here. So what I need to do is I need to go to load family to load this beam. So I'm going to click load family and a window will pop up. the library. Now, my own is defaulting me to the Imperial Library, but you can go to the Metric Library as well. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter, because what you find out is that there are some objects, there are some family objects that are only available in either Metric or Imperial, not both, right? So even if you're working in Metric, chances are you will still have to be going to the Imperial material family library to load Imperial objects. So in this case, I'm going to leave it at Imperial, and what I'm looking for is an open web beam, right? Now, I usually change my view. I usually change my view by going here, and say, show me details. And that way I can see everything as a list alphabetically. In my case, I want to go ahead and say group by none, because I don't want to group my windows into categories. And now I'm just seeing an alphabetical list. This might be your default view. It varies depending on your computer setup. So what I want to do is I want to look for structural framing. Now you're not going to see beams, you're going to see structural framing, right? So I'm going to go in here and I'm looking for steel.
By the way, guys, I've been carrying some additional Revit families for a couple of years. So if you're looking into my libraries, you might see some additional folders. Right, so I might have a little bit more than yours. So there's nothing wrong with your Revit. You know, just telling you.
And then if I click on each one of these, I will get a preview. So I can just click on the first one and use my up-down arrows to look at the preview. So I'm going to just pick the first one I see here. And let's see. Let's look for web. No, let's not choose the first one. Let's see, we have another one here, angle web. So let's pick this one. Now, the truth is that at this phase of the project, we are not specifying that this is the size open web that we're going to use. That is going to be determined by the structural engineer, but in our drawings we need to reference it. We need to show that there is a beam here, and then what we'll say is see structural drawings for the actual size of the beam. So I'm going to choose this one here. If you don't have this exact one, just pick one that is similar. I'm going to choose open. All right, so now I have this beam loaded. All right, so if I go to, you're going to see this window come up, right? So this window will show you the different sizes that you can load. Now, you could, when you select the size that you want to load, then you would choose to load it in. So what you're seeing here, this table might look a little confusing to us, but this is essentially how they classify steel open web joists in the steel industry, right? So I'm not necessarily familiar with these names, but think about the architectural industry. We have our own names for different elements in architecture. So the same thing in the steel industry. The important thing to note is the depth, right? So basically this is how deep that joist will be. Now again, we're not going to determine that here, but we're going to pick something that is reasonable. So we're not going to say that this is 4 inches deep, because logically that doesn't make any sense. But we're not going to say this is 3 foot deep either, you know. So I would say a reasonable amount would be to choose something like 400 millimeters deep. It's a little bit over a foot, right? And what you're seeing here, this number here, it doesn't affect the size. That is simply how heavy the actual steel member is, right? So for the structural engineers, they would care about this number, but for us, for representation, we're just going to pick something with a depth that would reasonably match what we want to show here. So we're going to choose one that's a little over a foot deep. So let's pick that one, the 16K12, 16K2, and choose OK here. All right, so once that is loaded, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to say, hey, our reference level is going to be at the upper floor, and that's about it. So now we can start to draw in our beam here. So this, I'm going to start it right here, and I'm going to come all the way down here, and it's going to end here like that. I'll press escape, And of course, the same thing again, this floor level is set to coarse, so I can set it to fine. But instead of, because you notice this is the second time that I'm actually doing this, so what I can do is, again, I will go down to my view template and I will just create a view template that will always show my view in the fine detail. So I'll go here and then I'll select architectural plan. And what I'll do is I'll designate that for architectural plans, I want my detail level to always be fine. There we go. While I'm here, I can go over to annotations, and did I set my grid lines? So grid lines, is halftone. I did set that already, so I'm going to say okay and okay. All right, so there you go. Now I can see these. Now, also, I want to adjust my underlay, I believe, right? Because for my underlay, I am seeing the walls below, which I believe we had set that earlier, which is here, right? So we're seeing the lower floor that was set from our underlay here. Now, what I want to do is I want to be seen up for my underlay. So I'm going to say that my base level, that's here, which is, I want that to be my upper floor. I want to be looking up like that. So let's go again. No, not lower floor. I want my base to be on the upper floor looking upwards. Now, based on that calculation, I should be seeing my beam, but I'm not. So let's look in the 3D view to see what's happening. And I think I found our culprit right here. If you can see, our web joist here is actually on, it is attached to the upper floor, and the error that I made here was actually that I should have set my reference level to be my roof, not the upper floor. Because as you can see, Revit is doing what I said. It attached it to the upper floor, but actually I wanted it to be attached to the roof. So we can change that. We'll just go to work plane and go to pick a plane. And we will just pick the underside of the roof here. And that should be that. So let's go back to our upper floor. And there we go. Now we are seeing as an underlay the beam. So let's copy this beam. Let me see. This beam is, there's one here, there's one here. It says there's one here in the sketch, but I don't think there would be one here because there is no beam here. Let me check that. So on the lower floor, I can check in this sketch as well, just to make sure I know the intention of the designer. So this back wall here is this back wall here. And yes, there is a beam that is inside of the wall, but it's not a beam that comes out here. So this is another case where we will need to make a design decision. Now, I may not be an engineer, but I figured that we would not need a beam here because the roof would be supported by this wall anyway, right? So I'm going to leave this beam out. Now, of course, as a part of the design development phase, this is where you actually investigate this. You would show these drawings to an engineer and ask them this question, and they would say, well, I think you may need it or may not need it. They may even do some calculations there on spot to tell you if you do need it. But we are not necessarily concerned with drawing that at this stage, because in the next phase, if you remember, we spoke about the drawing phases. So we are currently in the design development phase. We wouldn't actually draw in the correct sizes for those beams and columns until we get to the construction documentation phase. And it would not be us that draw it, it would be the engineer that would draw those drawings. So for now, in our drawings, we just need to be representing them in our drawing here. So with that said, we are gonna choose this beam here. We're gonna go CO copy, and we're gonna copy it. I'm gonna make sure to grab it in the center. And what we can do is I can always turn off the thin lines here, so that will show me with the thin lines. Copy this here. I'm going to paste it right here. Let me make sure that that is in the center. Right. I could actually also use the offset tool as well. Oh, I think I moved it. So I should have just copied it from here and just paste it on this line here. All right. There goes our beam. So we can look on that in 3D. So notice that usually while I'm drawing, I'm also looking at my building in 3D as well. All right, so let's take a look also on what's happening in the other section views. So, right, so we do have our ceiling. However, we do have, let's see in this view here, is that sketch there? What we're doing is checking for if there's any more columns or any more beams. I think we got it pretty much. So we got these beams in. That is great. That is great. All right. So now what we can do is get in our other horizontal level, and that's going to be our ceiling. So if we take a look on our drawing here, we can see that we have, let's go here. Yeah, we have ceiling, our ceiling level that's here. So to get that in, we're going to go to our lower floor, and we need to have a ceiling in this area here. So we're going to go to architecture, and we're going to go to ceiling as here. I'm going to click that. Now by default we have this compound ceiling grid that's here. We're just going to use the defaults and look at the level. So before we actually put this in, we need to have a level for it to go into. So let us go to the section view and let us get a level in called ceiling. So turn on this level and that level. So this level is called cantilever. This is my upper floor, right? So the ceiling level is going to be below the cantilever level. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to call this, let me call this level 1 ceiling, and it should be 3,500. So it's right there. Good. So now go to my lower floor, and I'm going to go to ceiling, and now I can say, hey, what level do I want my ceiling to be at? I want it to be at my level 1 ceiling level, that's here. And what's the offset from this level? I want it to be 0 because I want the ceiling to be exactly on that level. And now I need to draw my ceiling. Now I can choose this option to create a automatic ceiling, or I can choose the sketch ceiling. In this case, because this is such a perfect square, I can just go with the automatic ceiling, and let's see if it detects this space. Perhaps not. So I'm going to choose the sketch one then, and what I'll do is I'll just choose rectangle, and I'll just draw the ceiling like that and choose OK. All right, so actually it seems that the ceiling did go in. I'm not sure. Let's check it in 3D view. All right, the ceiling actually went in on the ground level. That's why I got that warning, which should be on the level 1 ceiling level, which is there. There we go. All right, so there is our ceiling. It is now in. Okay, so I believe we have in most of our horizontals here. While we're here, let's fix up these walls. So this wall and this wall here, they need to be attached to the lower part of this floor slab. So I'm going to say attach, and I'm going to make sure I'm on, say, attach wall top to the underside of here. So see, it's attached there. I will do the same thing to this wall that's here. I'm going to say attach to there. Oops, attach here. All right. Now there's a high possibility that these columns will also need to go all the way down to the foundation as well. So I am going to say to let the base level of these columns be at the foundation level. This one as well. I'll let this be at the foundation level. Okay, so now that we have the columns in, let's go ahead and add a foundation to that. Now we're not going to be able to use the same wall foundation tool because they only work with walls. So we need to add an isolated foundation slab. Now when we click this, we're gonna get a message that no family is loaded. Would you like to load a family? We're gonna say yes. Then we are gonna look in our default folder that we have all our families. And if we scroll down to structure, we'll see structural foundations.
By the way, guys, I think I had mentioned this earlier, but remember, most of the popular things that we use in Revit is in the Imperial folder. So you notice you see me going to the Imperial folder a lot. The folder that says English and English metric. So English is the Imperial, and then English metric is the metric version. So if you're looking for something in metric and you don't see, chances are it's in the Imperial folder, right? They don't exactly mirror each other, right?
And we'll see all sorts of options. We're going to choose footing rectangular, and we're going to choose OK. Then we're going to choose where to put it. If I hover here, you can see that's the foundation that's right there. And right now it is going to go to the lower floor. So we want this to go to the foundation level here. So now it's going to go at the foundation level. So ideally we want it to go there, but we're just going to place it here. Then we can just use our align tool, and we can align like there with that one, and we can align that with that. There we go. And what we can do is we can move it in place. Okay, to get it lined up, we can go to, let's go to the lower floor, and then what we're seeing now is the ceiling, because remember on the lower floor we were looking up. I'm using the underlay. So what we're going to do is, let's just switch this to wireframe. Oh, we're still not going to see that foundation because it is actually below. So let's switch back to regular hidden line. And what we can do is we are going to use the underlay tool. And what we're going to do is say, let's go to the lower floor and let's look down, and we want to look down. We want the range the range to be unbounded. So we are on the lower floor looking down. Let's see if we can go to wireframe. No, we're still not going to see the foundation like that. But what we can do is in our 3D view, we can just view from the bottom, and there we go. And then let's switch to wireframe. Looks a little confusing, but we can see the foundation and the column. So we can use our move tool, and we can just grab this, the center, from the center there, and line it up to the center like that. And we can use the move tool again, and we can grab it. Okay, let's move it over here first. Use the move tool, grab it from the center like that, and we can actually align it to the center here. All right, so we have the foundation roughly in the center, and what I'm going to do is copy this from here to over here. All right, so let's switch back to shaded view. So if we take a look, we have our foundations on there like that. All right, great. So that's our foundations. Okay, so let us take a look at where we are. So we do need to figure out this section here. So let me go to the lower floor. Right, so we have to figure out what's happening here, which if I go to a plan view, that's this section here, because we have these walls that's doing this interesting shape here. So we need to calculate that here. Now what we can do is we can use one of these details here. So this is a detailed sketch of just this area with the opening that's here. So if we go to our 3D view, and what we're going to do is disable the section box. Right, so we need to have a hole somewhere like this. So let's go to our upper floor and take a look at what we have here. Now there's a couple reference points that we can establish here. So firstly, this hole bends a corner right here at 14504 from this grid line, which is grid line A3. So remember we had this grid line here. So what we're going to do is let us use a reference line. We're going to use a reference line to do this. Now, the idea is we want to set up some lines so we can use as a guide while we model this out. Now, we could use a detail line or even a model line, right? But I would suggest that when you're going to model something and it requires a lot of reference lines here, we use the reference plane feature. So we're going to use a reference plane, and what I'm going to do is just draw a plane randomly, but it's going to be perpendicular to here. Then I'm going to click this and say, so that's this dimension that is here, and this dimension is 14504 millimeters. Great. So that's what we have here. Now, to make this easy to understand, I could rotate this like this reference photo. There we go. Right, so this dimension here is this dimension here. All right, so let's continue. All right, so we have an offset here for this hole, and we can see that in order to construct the curves here, we need to construct where the center lines are, right? Okay, so here we actually have a grid line. That's this grid line here. So grid line H1. So if we look closely, we can see that this distance here is the same as this distance here, right? So that's these two grid lines that's right here. All right, so we have that already. So now we need to construct these center points that are here. So if we have this center point here, we can generate this curve that's going to be here, and we know the radius for this curve.
Right. Everybody remember basic TD, right? Technical drawing. We are used to the technical drawing. Do we still do that? Yeah, we do it in AutoCAD now. Anybody here did technical drawing? From high school time?
Yes, sir.
Right, and you had to get the curves and all of that. So,
Right. With the French curve and the flex curve.
exactly. So this section here is basically some technical drawing in order to get the curve correct in the base. And no pressure, but this also determines the curve of the stairs, which we will do next class. So you want to make sure these curves are correct, or else your stair is not going to be correct, right? And this stairs is pretty much like one of the main features of this building. Like if you look on some of the sketches, the way that it curves up through the hole is so cool. So cool. All right.
5762. So I'm going to choose reference line again, and let's make it the same rough angle. There we go. Right, so that's this dimension right here. So we're going to copy this again, and then we know that this distance here needs to be 5762, and then we know that this offset distance here needs to be 5541. So we're going to choose reference plane again. Let's draw it in first and then get the dimension in. So here is that dimension here. All right, so we have our first point that's going to be here. So
by the way, when you're doing this section, guys, pay attention to where the grid lines are in relation to the object. I know that it's a sketch, so you can't really make it out, but you can know when it is centered to the left or to the right. Right, because this matters in how the curve come together, right? So for example, if you look on this line here, you can see that, oh, this is justified to the right of this this low wall that is here, but this grid line here is in the center of the wall. So keep an eye on that when you are creating this section, right? Where is the center line?
what we can do is we're going to use a detail line actually. So let's go to annotate, and then we are going to use the detail line option here. That's this icon, And we are going to choose not this one, but this option here, right? And we're going to go to this center point here, and we're going to draw this arc. Now, if we take a look, we can see that this radius is 3382. So we know that we need to make this radius here. There we go. And then we're going to draw it there. So what we probably, so let's carry this all the way around, and let's carry this. Well, we'll stop this here. So now we can say that this curve that we have here is the same as this curve that we have here because we constructed it. All right. So now this line should travel straight up. So I'm going to grab my detail line once again, and I'll just draw this line up. So that's this line that's going up. Then I can see that this bends this corner at 14504, which is right here. So I know that it bends a corner here, and it's going to be 152 degrees. So let's grab our detail line again, and we know that this will bend around like this. So what we can do is let's just draw it in at any angle first. Then let's click on it and notice that we get the angle here. So this needs to be 152. All right, here we go. We can trim this up. So now we have this, and then we have the length of this now. So we know that this here is this that's here. All right, so let's get the length of it right. So we're going to say 3265. All right, so we are getting there. Now we need to construct this arc that's here. So before we got this arc that's here, now we need to get this arc that's here, and that is based on this center point that's right there. All right, so we can say that this is 5276. So we're gonna go to architecture, grab a reference plane again. I'm gonna just draw that reference plane in randomly first, and this distance that is here. So I'm looking at this distance here, and I know that that needs to be the distance from here to here. So I'm getting a temporary dimension between here and here, but I need that temporary dimension to be to here. So what I can do is I can grab the line of the temporary dimension and drag it up to here. So now I can just type in 5276. There we go. So now we have the center point of this circle. So let me carry this in. At least we have one part of the center point. It's here, which is this line. So now we need this line, and we can see that we need this line now. And this line is 1161. So we can now tell where this center point is, because we had this distance from here. But now we need the distance from here to this grid line here. And we can see that this is that distance here. So let's go ahead and get that in. So that is 11551. So what I'm going to do is copy this one here. Actually, I can delete this because I already used it to get this curve. So I don't need it anymore. I can delete that one. So this I know needs to be 11651, and there is our center point right here. So now I'm going to go to my annotation and grab my detail line, and my radius for this is 9275. So let's do that. So 9275, and I'm just going to scribe a line all the way around. So now you can see that I got this part of the curve that's here. Now we still have one more that's remaining, and we need to get this curve that's here. So let's go ahead and reuse these points once again. So that point is going to be somewhere in this vicinity. I don't need this again, so I'm going to just delete that. So here we have the offset from this grid line, so that is 7601. So if I click this, 7601, and then this one here is 9005. So make sure it's from this grid line here, right? and it is all right. So where these two intersect would be that center point. So I'm going to do the same thing again. So that radius should be 3676. So let's go ahead and grab our detail line and our arc. Let's go 3676, draw an arc like that. All right, so we basically got an idea of what this sketch is trying to illustrate here. So what is remaining is the arc from here to here. So now we just have to kind of tidy this up. So we might need to do some adjustments to this arc. Actually, this distance that we have here doesn't seem to be quite right. And yes, this is the problem. It's actually 3776. So let's do that again. So it should be 3776. Ah, there we go. So now they're perfectly aligned. And then the last bit now comes around here. So we're going to use a trim tool and trim that up and trim that up, and there we have it. Now what is left is that we need to join here right at the tangent of this area here. So we're going to go to the annotate tool, grab our detail line, and wait till we get that symbol that tells us that we are now on the tangent of this curve, and we click, and then we trim this section here. So now we have this exact hole, and that helps us to answer some questions with some of these other areas. Now, of course, this section here isn't a straight line, so we can't put a straight line there though. So let's remove that. Now, in order to get this curve here, we would have to use this one that's right here. So the center point for this is all the way over here. So we're going to use back these reference points again. So we know that it's somewhere over this side. So we'll just put this over here, and then we'll do the same thing. This distance here should be 5271, and this distance here should be 9111. So this one here, and that's going to be the distance between grid I, right? So 9111. There we go. So now we have this center point here. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to grab our detail line and we're going to make it a arc. That's this one here. And we're going to start from here and draw all the way here. And this is actually should be 25768. So we're going to edit that. So this should be 25768. Right, 25768. So let me double check that. Oh, it should be 25968 actually. So it was correct. So in order to get this curve on this side, we need to take a look on our drawing, and we see that we have another curve that's all the way over here. So we'll use back these two reference planes. So we're going to put one here and put one somewhere down here. And let's take a look on the dimensions. So for this one, it's 5228. And for this one, it's 9111. And
so guys, if you realize, like, this section here, I had to do it again. And you know what caught me? Because you have to pay attention to whether or not the curve fall on the inside line or the outside line of the walls, right? That will be the proving ground for you guys in order for you to get these curves to work, right?
that's going to be from this point here. So that's going to be from this point here. So this is that point there. Then we need to take a radius of 25,968. So we're going to grab our detail line and we're going to do the radius here. And we are doing 25,968. And there we go. So that will take us to here and to here. So let's use a trim tool to trim that there and trim that there. So now we have constructed that that whole area that is right here. So what we're going to do now is use this to put a hole in the slab. Let's trim that. So if we click this slab here, we are going to edit the boundary and use pick line to pick these edges here, and this will create a hole in the slab. So we're going to choose don't attach walls. So now we have that hole that's there. Additionally, if we look at the lower floor, we have now a guide for what happens on the ground floor. If you remember, we looked on the lower floor here, and we could see that we had this wall that is here. So the edge of this curve forms the wall. So what we're going to do is go to our wall tool here, and we're going to use the 150 wall, and we're going to have to decide what the offset is going to be like. Are we going to use the center line or not? So when we choose the wall, we're going to let the offset be at the, let's use the finish face. So when we do the pick line, we want the wall to be on the inside. We want the wall to form on the inside of this point here. So we're actually going to put that wall all the way around this space. Oops, let's fix this one. There we go. And then this wall here gets connected here. So we need to, let's go for the wall tool again. And we will connect that at, let's use it at about 45 degrees. So that's this that we have here. And then this part that's here will be an extension of this wall coming up back to meet here. So we're going to go trim like that. So up to this point here, we will have the wall, but all of under here is going to be landscaped. So you won't have a wall that comes all the way around. If we're looking 3D view, this is what we have. But this wall doesn't come all the way around. It actually stops at somewhere around this point. So let's go back to the lower floor. And what we can do is perhaps about right here, this wall will stop. And let me see, perhaps around, so at some point here, this wall will stop. So what we'll do is cut this wall at about right here. About here. So what we're going to do is this wall here, let's look at that in 3D. So that is this wall. If we take a look on our sketch section, you can see that we have this inner wall that's here. On this side, we have a full wall. So on this side, it's going to be a full wall. But coming around here, we have this inner wall here. And based on our sketch diagram, we know that this little wall that's here is going to go from the cantilever level to the upper floor level. So with this wall selected, we would now choose the base constraint to be the cantilever level. So you can see that's what's happening there. And then the top constraint will be the level, the upper floor. So that is how we end up with this here. There we go. All right, so additionally, this wall which is here should go down to the cantilever level. So we are going to select this wall here, and we're going to put the base constraint at the cantilever level, like that. So you can see that we are now building this internal space here. So we need to have another floor level below. That's going to be here. So this floor level is going to be here, but it's going to it's probably just going to cover this outer space here. Let's see, I'm not sure what's happening on the other side. We can see this space here that's going around like that. So it would more than likely go about back to this space. So let's do that now. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this and then we're going to paste this on the cantilever level. So we're going to go to paste and go to paste align. We're going to go to paste align to selected levels. So we're going to paste this on the cantilever level. So now we end up with one more of this slab here. So we have two of these slabs, but this slab that's going to be here, we don't want it to go all the way around. So I would probably make it up to this point. Then I'm not sure what happens here, but let's do like that. And then we're going to trim this. Should be able to trim this. There we go. And we're going to trim this up to here. And then delete this wall here. And choose OK. Alright, so now we only have this part here being thick. Now let's look at this section now. So this slab, the base of this slab needs to be on at this base here. So we need to offset this 200 millimeters. So the thickness of this floor, we don't know what it is, but we're just gonna estimate. So we need to offset this 200 millimeters. Right, so that is this space that we're seeing here. That's here. Now if we take a look on this sketch that we have here, we can see that when we cut this here, so let's use a section box. If I should cut this maybe like about that. So we do have a tip that's like this. So this section here doesn't just end flat, it actually ends with a shape that has the shape. So there's a section actually here. So this is what that section looks like. So let's see if we can model that in. First, what we need to do is let's align this face here with this wall. Right. Now let's turn off that section box. Right, so basically for this section here, what we need to do is to have it shaping something like this at this section here. So to get that in, what we're going to do is use the model in place tool to create this, let's just call this end slab that's going to be here. So in order to do that, we're going to go to We're going to go to architecture component, and we're going to go to model in place. And we need to choose a category for this shape. So we're going to call it, so that's going to be this shape here. We're going to call this, we're going to categorize it under the floor category. We're going to choose floors. And we're going to call this slab edge. Let's say patio. So we're going to say patio slab edge. All right, so now we need to create an extrusion. So the first thing we're going to do is, if we take a look on our work plane, we would set our work plane. So we'd go to pick a plane for work plane, and we would select this plane here. Now the reason we're selecting that plane is, what we would do is draw the shape like that, and then we extrude it this way. All right, so that's why we need the work plane to be on that side. So we're going to go ahead and go to create an extrusion, and then I would just create a box first. So that's pretty much this box, but then I know that this is going to be 1136, and the height is going to be 300 plus 506, so that's going to be 806. It's a little above the slab, so I'm just going to drop it right at the slab right there. All right, then we need to, this height here is going to be 300, so we're going to carry this down, and we can see that it is going to be 300. That's there. Then we need to carry this up by 45 degrees, and then we will trim this like that. So now we have this shape that's here, and we choose OK, and we need to extrude it all the way to this side like that. So then we choose OK to finish that sketch. So now all we have to do is to align the edges of the slab. So I'm going to double click this slab and go to align that edge like that, and then choose OK. Then we will choose the next slab, is this one, and then we're going to align that slab here, and we'll choose OK. All right, so now we have the edge of our slab, so that's great. Let's fix up these walls. So we want to attach these walls here. Well, not this one, this one here. We can go to the attach, attach it to this slab. Actually, no, let's undo that. We would attach it to, let's just say, yeah, that was actually correct. So we're going to attach it to this slab here. Now this one here is a little bit tricky, because you can see that, you know, this wall goes and stops right here. So this part of this wall needs to be attached to the slab, but this part here needs to be attached, needs to come up to the wall. So what we would do is we would split this wall here. No, not that wall. We would split this wall. See if we can, that's that, there we go. And then what we would do is say attach that there, and then we would align this face. So there we go. So now we have that cleaned up. Next we have this one here. So we would have to do the same thing. We'd have to split this wall. So Gonna split this wall here. Then we're gonna, let's see, we're gonna move this back all the way here. Let's unjoin that. We're gonna trim this wall like that. And then we'll align that, and then we'll attach this here to this slab. There we go. All right, that's looking good. Okay, we also have to do the same for this wall here. So attach to this slab. All right. So that leaves us with some foundation, with some new foundation walls. So these walls more likely will be having their own foundation. Now, I'm not sure about this curved wall because I'm not sure if it would or would not have a foundation, but I'm pretty sure that these walls here and here would more than likely have foundation. So we're going to select those walls. And we're going to do the same thing, copy, and we're going to paste, align to selected level, and we are going to paste it on the foundation level. We are going to set the top constraint to lower floor, so that way we only get the walls to be like a foundation wall. And then we're going to go to structure and grab wall foundation, and we're going to add foundations to these walls here and here. So you should be having something like this, because these walls here would have foundations. Right, now remember, in the architecture field, we are making these representations, but it's really going to be the job of the structural engineer to determine, you know, what walls will have foundations, how deep they should be, and so forth. All right, so now that we have most of these walls in, we could start looking on the stairs. This is going to be the internal stairs. So we do have a stairs that's going to be in here, and we have two stairs that's going to be on these sides. But we have an internal stairs here, and if we take a look on this detail, that's this section here. So you see we have some stairs that comes across, comes down to this level that's here. And then in this level, we have some stairs that comes up. So in plan, you can see we have the stairs that comes up and then goes all the way up to this level here. So let's get this stairs in now. So this stairs actually has 1, 2, 3, so 3 different level changes. First, we need to go from here upward, then we hit a landing, then from here upward, and then from here upward again. Okay, so to get the stairs in, we first need to establish some of these walls. So if we look on our plan here, and let's go to the lower floor, that's here. We can see that we just having those main walls. So we have this main wall here. That main wall is going to be here. Let's see. Right. So this main wall is here. That you see right here. So we need to establish these spaces. So we can see the loading bay that's here. Let's use a plan for that. So the loading bay is going to be from A to A1. So that's from A to A1. So that's going to be here. So we're going to go to our wall tool and we're going to start adding some details to these walls. We're going to switch back to wall center line. So that's going to be this wall. Next, we have this wall that's going to be here. So we're going to add another wall that's going to be here. It's going to come somewhere like all the way over here and then turns back like that, something like that. So this is going to be back like that, and here is going to come back like that. Let's give the walls some thickness so that we can see what's happening. So here's going to be where we have the elevator, and then we have this storage space that's here. So actually we have a column here, here. I think we should have a column here. So this is going to be our storage space. So we're going to use the wall tool here. And what we're going to do is just put these walls in. I'm going to draw one here. And notice how I'm just drawing these walls very roughly. Then I'm going to use the trim tool and trim them up. This wall can come to here, that wall to here. Then we have another elevator space that's going to be here. So we're going to grab our wall tool again, and we should have that. We'll join this up back on this side. Actually, let's trim this like that. So we have this wall here. Right, so now we can see that our stairs should come up and then up this way. Now, before we even do that, let's take a look back on our sketch here. We do have some levels. So we have a level that's going to be for the first landing. So it's going to be the docking landing. That's here. So let's go to our section. So let's cut another section that looks like this one. So to do that, we can just actually copy this section. So we're going to go to C and copy a section down here. All right. So now we have a section 2. So what I'm looking at here is this section. So from what we can recognize, we see that we have the main level up here. So this section here is this section here. And this wall here is going to be this wall that's here. So just to give us some orientation so we know where we are. All right, so let's get in those levels. So we need the docking and landing, the dock and landing level. Let's turn on the names for these levels. So we have the docking and landing level, that's going to be here. And then we have 2 docking. So we have one here and then we have one above here. So this one is going to be the landing, and this one is docking and landing because when the trucks come to drop off items for the exhibition space, they will back up, which is going to be on a higher level. So ideally you would probably have a truck something like this. So this is the back of the truck and this is the front of the truck, and the back of the truck is aligned with the docking level that's going to be right here. So that's how I believe it will work. So let's call this here docking level, and that should be 1,300. And then we have the landing level, so we're going to call this landing, and that should be 2,900 here. Right, and then we have the rest of our levels here. So this is the cantilever, and this is now the upper floor. So we have all these other levels. All right, so so we have docking and landing. So those are going to be these 2 levels here. So we're going to call this one the docking level, and this one we're going to call our landing level. That's going to be here. Okay, so now we can start to draw our stair. So let's go to the lower floor. Let me see what the upper floor looks like. So on the upper floor, well, the stairs is going to come down here and go up in here. So let's see. The stairs is going to come here and go up that way. All right, so let's get our stair tool ready. All right, so we are now going to grab our stair tool that's here. And what we're going to do when we're using the stair tool, we need to define what is a run and what is a landing, right? And then we need over here, we need to determine what are the different levels that the floor is going to go to. So let's say that my base level is going to be the lower floor. My top level needs to be the upper floor. So ultimately, those would correspond with here, because my stairs ultimately will start down here, but it's going to end up here, right? So it should end up here. So first, my stairs will need to go from here to this level, from this level to that level, and from this level to here. But ultimately, the stairs is traveling that level, and that corresponds with what my upper floor will be. Okay, so that's set. The next thing I need to set is also the width of my tread, but I can adjust that later. So first thing, let's define the first run. So the first run, if we take a look on our plan here, our first run will be from here to here. So let's say from this grid line to this grid line. Now when it gets to, do that again, from this grid line to this grid line. Now when it gets to here, we want to now do a landing, and I'm going to just sketch the landing. So I'm going to use this, sketch the landing. So my landing is going to be all of this space. So let me just draw it here, and then I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to use my align tool and align it to the width of my step here. So this is going to be my landing. Then after my landing, I'm going to now say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to choose okay for the landing. Then I'm going to say there's going to be another run, and the next run I have is going to go from here, and I'm not sure where the landing is going to be, but it's going to be somewhere in the middle here. Then I want to have another landing that's going to be, and I'm just going to sketch this in using the sketch tool. Just draw a rectangle. So I'm just going to sketch this in, and then I'm going to just align it. Now notice that my stairs doesn't have the right width just yet, but we're coming to that. First, we're just going to sketch our stair idea first. So then I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to add another run, and that run should continue here and finish. Now notice when I drag any further, the stairs isn't getting all the way here, and that's because at this point right here, that is where my stairs will reach my ultimate goal, which in this case is to get to that level. So I've now done pretty much one complete stair. So stair, then landing, then stair, then landing, then stair. So now all I need to do is, well, firstly, if I look at this in 3D, so what I'm going to do is select the stairs. I'll just select all of this, and I will just, I need to click OK to finish building my stairs. There we go. So now I'm able to select my entire stairs, and I will just choose this button right here. All right. So that is pretty much my stair. Now, of course, it doesn't look exactly like what we want just yet. Carry this down a bit, because you can see the width needs to change, but the idea is there. Now, the next thing is also the type of stairs. So if I click the stairs here, you will see that this is using what's called an assembled stairs. So I want to change this to a monolithic stair, and that should give us pretty much like a concrete stair. Then of course we don't need the railings, so we're going to remove the railings for now at least. All right, now what we need to do is to change the dimensions of this stair. So let's go back to our lower floor here, and you can see where the stairs get dashed lines. That's where we're going above to see, that's where the stairs goes above the cut plane. So now let's fix up the width of our stairs. So we're going to click on the stairs, and then we're going to say edit stairs. So first we're going to edit this one here. So I'm going to drag this all the way to here and all the way to here. Then I'm going to edit this landing. So first I need to choose okay. Okay, let's hold on, let's go back here. All right, I need to choose the landing and then choose edit sketch actually. So then I need to carry this all the way to here and all the way to here, actually to here, because this is where the wall is going to be. And I need to carry this to the edge of the stair. So let's turn off the thick lines. So my stairs actually end right here at this arrow. So that's where I'm going to carry that landing. All right, so then I'm going to choose okay. Actually, hold on, let me cancel that. This landing here needs to reach this, the edge of this step. So I need to actually carry this. Go to my align tool and align that there. I choose okay. Hold on. Oh, hold on. This needs to be here, I believe. Right, there you go. All right, so now I need to edit this one here. So I'm gonna go to my stairs and I'm gonna drag the stairs back to this line. Now what is happening here is that this is trying to keep everything attached together. So I'm gonna have to perhaps detach this a little bit to get to this edge here first. I'm gonna say unjoin. Then I'm gonna go back to this landing. I'm gonna go to edit it and I'm gonna join it back here. Choose okay. All right, so back to this landing. I'm gonna make it the width of this space here. Let's see. Oh, right, I gotta fix this landing first. So let me edit this one up to here. Then I can double click to edit, or I can choose edit sketch. So this landing should actually go all the way over here and choose okay. Then I'm going to drag the stairs over here. I think it's too close to where this stairs meets right here. So let me drag it over like that. Cannot make stairs. And it's highlighting this. So this area here seems to be the issue. All right, let's fix this one first. All right, good. Let me choose OK. All right, let me look at what I have in 3D so far. All right, so far so good. So I just need to fix this section that's here. So let's go back to lower floor here. So I think the reason that this stairs gives me an error message here is because the way how this part is set up. So I'm going to pull this stairs back down to the edge of this wall, and it's going to ask me to unjoin. That's fine. Then I'm going to edit this. Remember, I can either click edit here or I can just double click. So I'm going to double click, make that landing like that, then choose OK. Then I should be able to, yep, there you go. All right, so let's take a look at that in 3D, and there we go. So we have the first step comes up, then a landing, then up to a landing, and up again. So in this case, this stairs needs to end somewhere about here. So let me adjust my view range. So that stairs needs to stop at about here, which means this landing needs to be longer actually. So let's go back to the lower floor. Let's edit the stairs. And what I'm going to do is drag the stairs down all the way to here. And then I'm going to drag this landing to there and choose OK. All right. So if I look at that in 3D, that is what I have there. Now, let's see. Now, the main thing that we need to look at here is if we go to our section view, you remember this level that we had here, which is our landing level. Based on our sketch that we have here, our landing level should be somewhere around 2,900, but you can see that it's really above. So to fix that, what we can do is we can actually select this landing and say, all right, can you make this landing at 2,900? Press enter, and it's going to have to unjoin. But yeah, see, it's not quite, but what it tries to do is to work your stairs calculation in to see the closest it can hit to this level here. Now, of course, I'm going to have to go back into the lower floor here, and I'm going to have to edit the stairs, and I'm going to have to, let's put this back to here, edit the sketch, carry the sketch there, and then we need to carry this actually back here. We're going to choose OK, and it's going to say that it has to unjoin it from right here. That's okay, because what we need to do is to drag this stairs back to the floor. And then we can go back and tweak the landing to make it back to the step. All right, so let's choose OK. All right, so if I look at that in section, then this is what I have, which is definitely closer to what we have in our sketch here. So we start, this one is a little longer, probably because the calculation of the stairs is a little different. And then we hit the landing here. And if we look in 3D, we can see that we have those steps in. That's there. So now what we need to do, we need to have an opening here naturally, of course. So we're going to choose OK, and we can just actually use this view here. So we can use our wall opening, click this wall, and then we're just going to draw an opening randomly, but then we will tweak the opening. So we can align the bottom of the opening. So we're going to use align, and then we can drag this over here, and let's use our align tool. This face here, let's make this a little longer. We actually have a wall there, so let's use the edge of the step and align it to there. All right, so then we have the opening in the wall here. In terms of the height, well, we can align the height to that height there for now. So there we go. So we have our steps that lead all the way up. Yes, we have our steps that does all the way like this. And that is looking pretty similar to what we have for our sketch of this area here. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn off this section box. Let's look at what we have for our entire building. So we pretty much have most of the walls. This section that's here, yeah, we're gonna have to detach this wall, because this wall I believe is a low wall, so we need to break it away from the other wall. So I'm gonna use the slice tool like that, and I'm gonna pull this wall all the way back to here, and this wall I can align with this face here. And I'm not sure of the height of this wall. We can maybe for now make it the height of the floor, and same thing for here, right? So it's going to be something like that, right? It's going to be something like that. Let's look at what we have going on for the balcony. There is a balcony on that step. We probably have to look at one of the sketches. So here we have the sketches here, and we can see in this sketch that it's a solid railing pretty much that goes all the way up. So we'll have a solid railing going all the way up. So in order to have a solid railing, what we would have to do is we wouldn't use a regular railing, because based on the nature of this railing, it's pretty much just a wall that's following the stairs. So what I would recommend for this is, well, let's cut a section along that area. So let's go back to our lower floor. And yes, so we have a section that's already here, so that's section 2. So what I would recommend is we would draw a wall that follows the stair. We could also do a model in place as well, but I think in this case we can also use a standard wall and use the profiles feature. So the concept of how that would work is we would draw a wall that's, let's say the wall is like that. Then what we would do is cut the wall. So essentially deleting everything on the top and everything on the bottom, and just leave this section in the middle there. So that is the idea behind how we would get that done. So let's go back to our lower floor. And what we would do is we'd use our wall tool. And we could use the 150mm wall just the same. This time we would probably not go with the center line. We'll probably put it at the finished face exterior. So when we draw the wall, let's carry the wall to right here, because this is where the stairs ends. And it's going to give us a message to tell us that the walls are overlapping. That's fine. We know. All right. Now what we would do is we would say, would click on this little dot that's right here, and we would say don't join, because we don't want this wall to join with the other wall. So what we would do is just move this wall back and carry it back here. So now it's not joining there. And I would do the same thing here as well, say disallow join. If I look at that in 3D, that's the wall that we drew here. Now for our purposes, we are going to hide this wall. And let's make this a little taller. So we're pretty much going to cut the railing, or the solid railing, out of this wall. So the first thing we need to do is let us set how tall the railing would be. So, okay, so let's make the top be up to the upper floor. So here we go, the top is at the upper floor, and then we're going to offset the top about 3.5 feet. Right, so that's pretty much that millimeters, 1066.8. That's fine. We can just maybe round it off to 8,000. There we go. And then what we would do is we would cut a profile along this area here. So if we go to our, I'm going to just move this wall in slightly. So I'm putting the wall there just temporarily. So let's go to our section here. So notice that we're seeing our wall here, and what we're going to do is choose the edit profile tool. So what that will allow us to do, we can use pick line, and we're going to pick the base of the step. Then we're going to trim it to drawing them up. Like that. Trim this up to here, and then trim this up to here. Then what we're going to do is pretty much offset the height that we have here. So we will offset it at about 1000 millimeters. So let's use the offset tool and let's make this 1000 millimeters. So we're going to offset these walls like that. There we go. And we'll just trim this like that. So now we're gonna get rid of this wall, this line, and then trim this section like that. Delete here. And that's what we're left with, and we choose OK. And that's fine. We're still getting the error message because technically this wall is still intersecting, but not really because we cut the profile in. So if we go to the 3D view, we can just align this edge to that edge that's there. All right, so then we have our balcony, and then for this side now we can just work with this. We can just split this. We can align the top here to this wall and align this edge here. All right, so that is pretty much how we would get this part of the stairs, which is this part here going up. The other thing is, I think this should be on the inside of the wall. So let's look at that wall that we hid earlier. So that's this green wall here. So right now this is intersecting in the wall there. So I believe that this should actually be on this side here, like that. Hence our stairs needs to actually be shorter. So let's go back to our plan view and let's tweak our stairs a little bit. So we're going to carry these in. Carry this in. Carry this inward like that. There we go. All right, and that should also get rid of the error that we were getting, because now the stairs really falls on the inside of this wall. All right, so we're gonna unhide this wall again. All right, so now we have our internal stairs, and we have pretty much all of our horizontal slabs. So what we have left is going to be the external stair here and here. And then we can also complete some of our internal walls. So if we look at our lower floor, we do have to add in most of these interior walls. We add most of them already, but we need to add our doors. We need to add these dividing curtain walls, that's here. And for our bathroom areas as well. So we can just go ahead and do that quickly. So That's this area here. So to get these curtain walls in, if you look at the section, you can say this is pretty much standard curtain wall. So we can go to architecture wall, click on the wall tool here, and then we can change this to storefront wall. So we can just start from the edge here. Let's see if this works out. There we go. So we have our storefront wall here. Let's worry about the height a little later. So, and then we have storefront going between here. Now, what we can do is we can turn off the overlay so we can see our grid lines more clearer. So where we have overlay, we say none. So let's go for our curtain wall again. All right. All right, so we're now adding in these curtain walls. And that's going to be based on how we see the plan is. So if we take a look on our plan, which is here, we have some curtain walls. That's going to be here. There's another one here. All right, now we do have to pay attention to the height of these walls. So if we go to our 3D view, we're not seeing them because they're on the inside. So we would need to use our section box, and then we can just cut down the section box all the way down here. Down. You can see these curtain walls showing on top here. So right away we know that we need to attach it to actually, if you look at our section, maybe this one, the curtain walls are actually attached to the ceiling. So not to the slab, but to the ceiling. So we could go down a bit further with our section cut. Okay, so that's going to be our ceiling that we are seeing now. So this is our ceiling. So the curtain walls need to be actually attached to the ceiling. You can see it's going above the ceiling. So we can choose attach top and then select the ceiling. And this is okay. This is just telling us that there were some mullions based on the height of the curtain wall, and those mullions would no longer be there, which is fine. So attach the ceiling. Attach the ceiling. And then for here, attach the ceiling, and then we do the same thing for this guy here. Attach the ceiling. All right, great. So if we cut our section box, let's cut our section box back like this, and let's cut it up. Right, so you can see that our curtain walls is actually going up to our ceiling height, which is there, which is great. So now what we can do is we would need to adjust our curtain details a little bit so we can fit a door, but we will do that later when we start to add doors and windows in our drawing. Our main objective here is that we want to add all the horizontal surfaces and the internal doors first. All right, let me go to wireframe so I can see what's happening on the inside of the building. All right, that looks pretty good so far. We do have a railing going across here, so we would need to go to our upper floor and choose railing, and we could change our railing type to glass and draw a railing from here to here. Make sure it's at the upper floor level, choose OK. All right, and that's our railing that we have in front. Okay, so I do believe we have reached the objective of having all our floors, all our slabs. We did get in all our beams as well, and we got in the internal stairs. So now we are pretty much at the milestone that we need to be. Start working on the landscape and the external stairs, and then after that we work on the final detailing with windows and doors, and that will carry us to a state where the BIM model will be complete, and then we can start to generate our views for our sheets. Okay, so let's continue with developing our drawings. Before we continue though, I'm going to make some use.
Mic check. Are you hearing me now? Yes, you are. Hello? You guys are hearing me okay? Mic check, guys.
Yes, sir, we're hearing.
Oh, well,
Yes.
my Zoom kind of went blank for a while. Not sure why. And I had a section about the stairs, but anyway, we're near the end of the class time anyway, so I will continue these years next week. Let me bring this up here. Let me bring this up. Close it. Yes, I did close it. Hold on, guys. I just want to show you something really quick. Floors and stairs. Yeah, here we go. Oh. Alright, you guys see my screen okay, hopefully. Yes. So our mission for this time around, right? So you have this week to complete this task, right? So you have the floors, right? The roof, and just these stairs, right? Now it's important for you to get through these stairs because this is a warm-up. Because you know this stairs is coming, right, guys? This curved stairs. So this is going to be your first warm-up stairs. Next week we will tackle this curved stairs and then the stairs that comes up to here. And we'll also look at the terrain. But guys, like, so let me see. You have later you're coming back for the presentation later, right? And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you have 1 week to finish what we just did. Will you guys be able to come? Before next class? Let me hear some volunteers with the answer.
Sir, read question.
Will you guys be able to complete what we did today? We did the floors, roofs, and we did one stair.
Well, personally for me, I can, but I don't know about anybody else.
So if you can, give me a thumbs up. Guys, we get an idea. On to everybody else. Are we here? Are we here? Okay, I get in 1 or 2. Well, I get 2 answers from the persons who I expect nothing less than to finish it by later today. What about everybody else? Right, you guys? Remember, this is a major project, so you need to keep up with me in order to be able to move to the second part of the project, which is going to be the collaborative segment. All right. Last time around, I gave some extra time for you guys to catch up. We've used that card. There's no more extra time. Pretty much every week, we're going to be moving to a different segment of the building. All right. We do it in class. You know, I answer some basic questions. You guys go off, complete it. I'm going to put the record in there as soon as the class is done. So you guys go off and complete it and come next week. I expect that everyone should have that already. All right. So by Sunday, everyone should be uploading their screenshot showing that they achieved the floors and the roof. Anyway, that's going to mark it for the end of class today, guys. I will see you later for the presentations. All right. Yeah, Javin, you have a question?
Not really a question. Just wanted to show you. They said we're supposed to show you what we did for segment 2 in class today. Stage 2.
All right. Some of you didn't get a chance to submit, right? So I said I would open up the form to let you submit. All right. So for those of us who are not submitting, that's the end of class, guys. I'll upload the recording so you guys can finish. You guys are free to go. Those who were not able to submit on Saturday, I believe it was. No, when did I give the time? Or was it last week? It was last week. So those of you that, right. So those of you who were supposed to submit, and I say you could submit it in class, just stay behind so we can take care of you guys. All right. So that's it. I'm gonna stop the recording.